You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's invite our next guest here, who is in the studio with us, Comrade Bedford Benjamin, Director of Publicity, Niger Delta Peoples Movement. It is concerning the NNPCL Saga and a lot of matters arising from that situation. Sometime last week, the NNPCL boss said that his life was in danger and that they were receiving a lot of threats. And this was when leaders of Pengassan paid a courtesy visit to him at his office. Well, this is the focal point of our conversation, and we hope to x-ray these matters quite closely. Also, with a recent protest that held in protest of the NNPCL boss and a call being made for his removal from office. Comrade Bedford, thank you so much for availing yourself for this conversation.
Thank you.
A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
NNPCL itself appears to have a lot of troubles lately, with calls being made for the removal of auxiliary. We saw protests and all of that. From your own perspective, why do you think there's a lot of crisis internally within the NNPCL, and why are calls being made for the removal of its boss?
All right. It's not news that the NNPC, the oil and gas sector, is the mainstay of our economy in Nigeria. That is what Nigeria feeds on. And that is what is sustaining the budgetary provisions of Nigeria, as it were. So it's not anything different for such level of controversy surround the NNPL. Over the years, the NNPC has had issues. Of course, is the mainstay. So every politician interest is in that place. Every Nigerian has interest in that place. So Julari coming on board, and initiating certain reforms. Of course, there will be kickbacks, and the protest is as a result of such kickbacks. Maybe is stepping on toes, stepping on people's toes. But of course, what it means for reforms. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, started his service as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first thing he did was to remove fuel subsidy. So there was energy crisis on day one. So the energy crisis in Nigeria, oil and gas crisis in Nigeria, petroleum premium petroleum price skyrocketing to its highest of high, as it were. So Ojulari coming on board is to see how he can stabilize the oil and gas sector. And of course, you need a bullion drive. Part of the responsibility of leadership is to take steps, for productive steps, to change the narrative. And that's what he tried to do and is still doing. I looked carefully at his the reforms that he's trying to put in place. You see that, before he left, Melekiare did a revamping on all the refineries. And looking at those refineries critically, the level of production is not in comparison to the amount of millions of dollars that have been spent in. There is no commensurate progress, as it were. So the man said, no, let me do reforms. We cannot be losing over 300 to 500 million US dollar monthly. After doing production, you put 100%, you get less than 50%. That is not business. And he said, okay, let there be some level of transparency and revamping. And, when Ejulari came on board, you saw that there's a monthly appraisal of how the company is faring, and that is what leadership is about. It's about making tough decisions. And once you're making tough decisions, of course, you step on toes. There are people that have been eating free monies, that have been benefiting freely on their own. They just sit in their houses and they get credited for no just cause. And you see the corruption surrounding. If you say Nigeria is corrupt, it's the oil and gas sector. Everybody's interested in that oil money. So Ojulari coming on board is saying, let me see some level of stability, and that is why he's having kickbacks, and that protest is a result of those such kickbacks.
Now, when Malam Melekari was the GCEO of NNPC Limited, there were talks about certain cabals, oil cabals, who were holding the NNPCL and the Nigeria's oil and gas sector to ransom. They were at the helm of affairs. Although faceless, they had a lot of influence. How has that been like, especially for the new GCEO now, Ojulari? And could that have been a little bit related to his recent comments last week, where he said specifically that his life was being threatened?
Of course, yes. Like I said, when there are kickbacks,
Yeah.
of course, you are trying to step on toes, people that have been benefiting over the years, cabal that are holding the oil and gas to ransom, and they are trying to have some level of freedom. Of course, you have fights, and that is the kind of fight that he's experiencing. And his life being at threat, that is one of the responsibility of leadership. As a leader, of course, those that are against you, that are not benefiting from you, they want to be against you. I'll not be surprised that the internal crisis, some of the challenges that he's having, is based on internal inconsistencies, as the case may be. There are also internal saboteurs within the NNPC that is sabotaging his effort and crying out. That is what that you should do as a civil. It's a civic right to cry out when his life being threatened, and that's the right thing to do, to say my life is being threatened, and so Nigerians can see what is happening. And I believe Ojulari has taken the right step by crying out. If his life is being threatened, he's expected, because he's trying to step on toes and making reforms that will push Nigeria forward. I believe the president, saw that quality in him. He's a technocrat. He has been in the oil and gas space for over 30 years, so he's not oblivious of the happenings in the oil around the oil. I'm sure he knows those cabal, because for you to be in a system 30 years, he rose through the ranks, and he has been a private person. So coming to the public space, he's trying to bring that expertise, that private expertise, for productivity. After all, the NNPL is now a limited liability company. It should be micromanaged by the structure. So of course, that is what he's doing, and it's not news. It's not a new thing that his life is on the line.
Now, let me quote a statement by Ojulari sometime last week. He said, "We were pumping about 50,000 barrels of crude. What was coming out was less than 40% equivalent of what was coming in." There is an error somewhere.
There's an error. There's a monumental error.
Now he went ahead to say that the NNPC Limited will adopt a private partnership to ensure sustainability and profitability. Is this a viable solution, in your opinion? The NNPC at some point became a limited liability company. With that, Nigerians were hoping for a new dispensation, a new era to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. But that has not been a lot to write home about. Is the private partnership between NNPCL and, of course, private COIS going to change anything for Nigerians and how we see the oil and gas sector?
Going down memory lane, anything that is being handled by government solely does not have some level of progress. Look at Dangote Refinery. He's doing tremendously well, because it's his business, it's private business, and so that private partnership is essential, is necessary for productivity. So if they are counting losses, of course, as a private person, as a private investor, you bring your money in, you don't want losses. So why is saying that after doing 100%, you get less than 40%, you are running at a loss of over 300 to 500 million dollars. Who pays for those for those challenges? Nobody pays. The government is taking care of all of those lapses. But if there's a joint venture, of course, that if there's a loss, everybody loses. If there's profit, everybody profits. And so that is the essence of his reform. And for me, that every sensible Niger Deltan should support that reform. But our own appeal, or our own appeal, we say that we have sons and daughters that are in the oil and gas industry, like Century Oil and other private oil companies owned by Niger Delta. They also should be given priority to also participate if that private partnership is going to take place. Let them also look critically at viable Niger Deltans that have been in the oil and gas space, that have made tremendous progress. They'll also be part of the process, because of course, if there's private partnership, productivity becomes normal.
During President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's last international trip, where he went to Japan and also Brazil, part of the foreign direct investments that the president had attracted into the country is the fact that Petrobras is set to return to Nigeria. Is there light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps, to our, petroleum woes? if there is a collaboration maybe between NNPCL and Petrobras?
My brother, I will tell you for free. We have enough local content. That is
without necessarily collaborating with Petrobras or any other.
We have enough local content. There's Wando. There are other companies that are doing tremendously well.
Yeah.
You know, you see that our private Renaissance are taking over other oil multinational spaces.
Yes.
Because they are doing deep waters. But now you see that Nigerians, we have indigenous companies, local content that can make that productivity possible. The perfect example is the Dangote refinery. Yeah. So for me, as a Niger Delta, we don't need Petrobras. We need to rally around ourselves to get that productivity, because it's possible to be productive within us. We have enough local content.
When you talk of Dangote refinery, local content coming in from companies like Dangote refinery, I remember the Naira for crude agreement between Dangote refinery and NNPCL, which Nigerians thought was going to be a source of succor to our challenges when it comes to the oil and gas sector. But that didn't really end well. It kicked off on a good note. The high prices of the fuel pump price, crashed a little bit due to the agreement, but then it was never renewed till today. There has been no conversation. There has been no statement. It appears as if it was just a test run, and then they abandoned it.
That is the bureaucratic bottlenecks that we are talking about. That is part of the influence of the cabal, to see that, oh, this one is not going to be possible. And mind you, when there's no competition, where there's no competition, you see all of this come to play. Yeah. That essentially. But you can attest to the fact that upon the production of Dangote refineries and other smaller modular refinery, you see that our Naira is gaining ground. Yeah. Naira was on a free fall, was about 2,000 to $1. But now you see that there is the economic miracle. I call it. I want to choose to call
economic
it
miracle by who? Who performed the miracle?
By strategic policies.
Okay, of Ojulari. Ojulari-led
NNPC. Strategic policies of Ojulari-led NNPC. You see that the Naira is getting ground. You see that the activity, there is transaction going on in the oil and gas space. And for me, like I would say, we don't need Petrobras. Maybe President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done all his own mechanism, but I believe in local content. That is the essence of the local content, NCDMB. Yeah. And the NCDMB is doing tremendously well in developing local content. They are under Felix Ogbe in the Nigeria Local Content and Monitoring Board. You see that he's doing tremendously well. He's preparing the pathway for the future. And there's the level of collaboration between him and the NNPC, and that is how we can get private local content participating in the oil and gas space effectively. Because I believe we have what it takes. We are over 300 million Nigerians, and out of those 300 million Nigerians, we have eggheads, we have cerebral people like the Senate president, who is doing tremendously well in putting law in ensuring that the Senate also plays its role critically to revamp the oil and gas sector. It is doing tremendously well, and every other Niger Delta in that space.
Now we'll get to that. Of course, the Senate president has been at the helm of affairs and championing a lot of good causes for the Niger Delta region. And I'll get to the Niger Delta and the Niger Delta youth who had staged the protest in just a moment. But let's talk about some of these leadership challenges and how it has affected NNPCL's ability and also Nigeria's oil economy. A recent report a couple of weeks ago stated that the fuel consumption in the country had dropped by over 20% in Nigeria. Now, it's a bit worrying, even though I understand that people are starting to move to other means
CNG
of energy and all of that, but it is concerning that from a different angle, it could be that people do not even have the means to purchase petroleum products anymore.
When petroleum products, particularly fuel, that is generally used by Nigerians, was over 1,000 naira, people were buying. But now you could see that you see the gradual decline.
A decline and also a constant price fluctuation. Today it's 800 naira,
yeah,
tomorrow is 900 naira.
which is expected.
Okay.
You know, of course.
Why is it expected?
Because there is no subsidy. There is no subsidy.
Okay.
And you know that when there's no subsidy, so we are trying to learn on the game. We are trying to learn on the game, and particularly you know that every production there's consumption. The consumption is Nigeria, and like you have said, like rightly said, the other alternative energy that people are using now. If you go to major Nigeria houses, nobody uses fuel anymore. Majority of our people now use solar and other solar panels. So that also is a contributing factor to the decline of consumption, because there are other energy sources that people are exploring. I for one, I believe in that level of innovation. And mind you, you know that the gas economy is also gradually is going to overtake the petroleum market, as it were. So we expected those level of fluctuation. That is how business works. That's why you see that Ojulari is making it as a point of contact to see that let there be private partnership. If the Warri refinery is operational, the Port Harcourt refinery is operational, the Kaduna refinery is operational, and they are making profit, there's competition, there's healthy competition. And in business, healthy competition is what crash down price. Take an for example, when the sole it was Nitel that is the bane of communication, is the champion of communication in Nigeria as at then. Yeah. But now you can see that competition has set in due to this this partnership privatization, which is expected, which is what it should be. My only worry is that Niger Deltans must be carried along in the privatization process. And if we have enough local content to bid for the Warri refinery, we should also have stake. There should be participation percentage, particularly for host communities. There should be participation percentage for oil bearing communities, and the Niger Delta at large must be considered.
Now I see you are itching to talk about the protest, but before you talk about the protest, one word: is the NNPCL credible under Ojulari?
Very credible. I believe because less than 6 months is short a time to judge the productiveness of an individual, of leadership. And mind you, the man is bringing experience to the table. The man is bringing expertise to the table. The man is bringing reforms that will set the ball rolling in the oil and gas industry. So we should give him time. We should study what he's doing. Now, of course, he's making his reports available, monthly reports available for scrutiny, for public scrutiny. So let us look at what he's trying to get at. Let us look at it critically and give him that level of support, because we cannot do the same thing the same way and expect different results. This man is trying to bring innovation into the game, to now say this is not possible, why we are losing money, and Nigeria, the taxpayers' money is going down for it. It's going down the drain. You see, what should be meant for infrastructural development, for the development of the Niger Delta, for the development of Nigerian states, is going down. Do you know what $500 million can do in an economy, in Nigerian economy? You know what it can do? It will do tremendously well. And month in, month out, there's that level of loss. No leadership will take it. If it is you, you will not take it. So that's the under Ojulari. Kudos to Ojulari. And I want to also thank Pengasin for that level of solidarity, that level of support to they are giving to the leadership of Ojulari under NNPC. It is very expected, and all well-meaningful Niger Delta must support, should give that level of support, or except there's something that we are not seeing.
Let's talk about the protests. Let's talk about the accusations by Niger Delta youths. On NNPCL and Ojulari itself. Do you think it's motivated by mere politics, or are these genuine grievances that they are trying to send home?
My brother, I will tell you for free, that protest is a procured protest by also those cabals, and that is not a reflection. That protest is not a reflection of the true Niger Delta people's position. I'm the director for media, director for publicity for Niger Delta Peoples Movement. I also happen to be the spokesperson of the Joy Youth Council Worldwide, IYC. But you know what is on ground? That protest was not a reflection of the Niger Delta people. It is parochial. It was sentimental. It's an insult to political holders in the Niger Delta, particularly to our Senate president. That protest is an insult to the Senate president. It's an insult to the to those surrounding the NNPs. I can tell you for free, the NNP is surrounded by Niger Delta. The COO, the Chief Operating Officer, is a Niger Delta. The Executive Vice President of Upstream is Niger Delta. You see that all of this is an insult to those persons that have occupied, particularly the Senate.
What would you rather have them do? We have established that the Senate President is at the forefront, ensuring that whatever good is obtainable comes to the Niger Delta. And as the highest political office holder, currently serving in the Niger Delta, he is considered the father of the Niger Delta as it stands in Nigerian politics right now. What would you rather have these youths who are part and parcel of the Niger Delta do as regards to ensuring that they follow the hierarchy, play by the books, and relay their concerns and grievances in an orderly manner to individuals like His Excellency, the most esteemed Senate President?
Of course, there was no enough stakeholders engagement. Again, that's the need. There's communication gap. There's communication lacuna. Yeah. Anybody can there's freedom of protest. There's freedom of speech. Freedom of information, as it were. So every Niger Delta or every Nigeria has an opportunity, they are privileged to express his or her grievances. They have expressed their own grievances, but I know it was a procured arrangement that does not reflect the true position of the Niger Delta. That brings me to the point of stakeholders engagement. There's need, like every other region, is doing in the Arewa and the Yorubas. There is need for continuous stakeholders engagement to come up with a position. Because in Nigeria there is no position. We have the Senate president that is very influential in Nigerian politics. That is a true son of the Niger Delta that is doing very, very, very well. And we are also senators, and we have the NDDC is there, and all the papas the local content is there, and the petroleum minister oil is there, the petroleum minister gas is there. So there must be critical stakeholders engagement, particularly in this oil and for engagements, so that we can have a position in the oil and gas industry. For us, that is how you can make a statement. When you just open your mouth and just say things that you did not think through before doing them, it rubbishes the entire process. And I believe I want to say very, 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 very seriously that the organizers of those protests owes Niger Deltas an apology, owes the Senate President an apology. They have to apologize, because that was done in ill faith and does not reflect the integrity that the Niger Delta hold. Of course, the grievances, the issues of environmental degradation, the issues of gas flaring, continuous gas flaring, and all of those issues that are stated are all genuine cases, because the Niger Delta, the life expectancy rate in Niger Delta is drastically low, and there's need for that infrastructural up review, particularly the Petroleum Industry Act. There has to be a review in that PIA to accommodate all of these grievances, because it's long overdue for the industrialization of the Niger Delta. Is long overdue. The industrialization and the carrying along of the Niger Delta, particularly the oil-bearing communities.
Now, can we go through the demands that they are sending out, but one of them is actually the resignation of Ojulari, which it might seem a little bit too extreme.
It's extreme.
What other demands are they relaying? Environmental degradation has been a call that has been made for decades, since the time of the late Ken Saro-Wiwa and the rest of them.
It's been there.
It has been there. So it did not start from NNPC Limited, and it also did not start from the Ojulari-led NNPCL. What are these demands, and how can they be tackled?
Well, the demands of environmental degradation has been there over the years, and we are still clamoring until we see meaningful change. We have strange health conditions in the Niger Delta as a result of the exploration of oil and gas in our region, and there's urgent need. There's that demand for sincerity that we are demanding for, and we constantly demand for sincerity until the right thing being done. And part of what can be done is what the local content man is doing, is to encourage local content development. Of course, if the people are parts of the process of production, of course, the issue of by the way, kudos to those surveillance contractors, the likes of Tantita, the likes of petroleum industry, PIN, and all of that, all of those set of persons, they have done tremendously well to to bring that level of succor to our environment. Our environment is coming alive again because as a result of as a reduction of crude oil theft and all of that. There's that activity, and it has stabilized. It has stabilized a little bit. We will have to give kudos to them, and mind you, the NNPC also is part of all of those process in giving out those surveillance contracts. I believe those surveillance contract should be renewed, and if possible reviewed for other level of participation. Also, non-kinetic approach should also be used for robust participation as it were. There's that level of stability. However, we are still calling. Of course, we will keep calling until we see that meaningful environmental freedom and our ecosystem restoring back to its full capacity. Because if our ecosystem is
beyond protest, beyond this sort of protest, the individuals who were on the streets, blocked off the entrance to the NNPC tours in Abuja here, beyond such protests that would escalate matters, what other streamlined methods or processes can be followed in a more documented and a more proper manner to achieve the aim of what these individuals are protesting at? Some of the points that are viable. I'm not talking about the sack or resignation of Ojulari now. Some of like the environmental degradation and all of that. What steps can be taken?
Engagement, constant engagement. Gone are those days where we go block the streets and they give us peanuts and we go off the streets. It has not solved any problem. I've seen that protests over the years has not solved any problem. It does not solve any problem. So constant engagement, like I always say, is the solution to it. Constant engagement, and the government should keep to the end of the bargain. If there are documents everywhere. There are documents everywhere to address, like the cleanup of the Niger Delta. It should be effective. It should be effective. It should be practical. We should see work. We should see tremendous work done in that area. And that's part of how we can bet solution. Engagement, continuous engagement, stakeholders engagement, and also using the non-kinetic approach. And doing reviews, upward review every now and then. It was like this 10 years ago. It is like this now. Since the engagement of anti-pipeline binders and all of that, this is where we are. There's no record.
Is there anything that the Niger Delta Peoples Movement is doing?
What we are doing tremendously.
Please, well. Can you take us through that?
Okay, the Niger Delta Peoples Movement is a UN recognized organization, recognized by the UN, and we are doing documentaries. We are doing documentaries to hear the plight of the people, and the areas that we can give succor, we are providing that level of succor. The Niger Delta Peoples Movement, we have given scholarship to indigent students to go study in the maritime sector, to study in the oil and gas sector, because we believe in building capacity. If you don't build capacity, you cannot be crying for what you don't have solution for. So if you are crying for environmental cleanup, we have enough environmental scientists to also engage in the process, because we understand the creeks belong to us. So if we have engineers in our creeks that understand the creeks, are participating, are part of the process in cleaning up the Niger Delta, I believe it will do a whole lot of good. So we believe in local content. This year we have annual events and we have seasonal events
via the
Niger Delta
Peoples Movement. Are you also collaborating with organizations like the NCDMB and the rest?
We do have that level of collaboration. We are moving forward to have that level of robust collaboration. Because of course we believe in doing our bits. We are a movement. We believe in the progress of the Niger Delta. We believe in the people of the Niger Delta. And part of how we can bring our agitation to fruition is that we have a whole lot of local content developments in our communities. And that is what we are doing now. That's what we are cut out for. We believe that every Niger Delta has equal opportunity to participate in our environmental issues and also bet solution. That is what we are engaged in, and we keep doing that engagement. We buy books for students, we give scholarship up to in masters and PhD level. Some of our students, some of our people that we have given admission, that graduated, and that level of engagement is ongoing, and that is what we keep doing. We engage a local content, we engage NNPC, we engage every critical stakeholder for the development of the Niger Delta people, because if the Niger Delta people are developed, I believe production will also increase. Mind you, production is now over 1.9 million per barrel, and they're targeting over 2.5 million production per barrel in nearest future. It is possible, it's achievable.
Now you are also a part and parcel of the Ijaw Youth Council. Let's talk about the younger demographic. Most of the individuals who had protested at the NNPCL tours were mostly young people, youths, right? And some people are of the opinion that protest is an effective tool to achieving what one wants. However, in this situation, there is a high tendency for tensions to escalate if young people are involved in this sort of protest. But I just want you to give me the position of, one, the Niger Delta Youth, two, the Ijaw Youth Council, and every young person within the Niger Delta. What role are they playing, and what role should they play in order to follow the lead of the elders who have been there before them in order to achieve these demands of the Niger Delta, a cleanup of the Niger Delta? We hear of the organic cleanup and all of that. Take us through that.
All right, thank you very much. As Ijaw Youth Council, we believe that the resources belong to us. We believe in resource control. That is the crux of our agitation. Give us our resources to manage our resources. And part of what we are doing, like I've said, is to constantly build local capacity. So while agitating for resource control, we have the qualified people to engage in that sector, and that is what we are constantly doing. And hunger, the issue of hunger is not alien to Niger Deltans alone. It's everywhere in Nigeria. There's hunger because inflation has risen. However, the government is doing its best to stabilize the situation. Like I said earlier, that protest is procured, is born out of hunger. You can just call 2-3 persons and say, I will give you 100,000, I'll give you 50,000. People should come and carry placard, and they'll go. And that is what it is. That is how poverty has been weaponized in our region. It's sad to say, but we are making conscious efforts. Like I will tell every young Niger Delta, self-development is key to progress. Self-development is key, because if you don't develop yourself, you always be the pawn in the chess game. You always be good only for nuisance value. Enough of those nuisance value, because what took place in NNPC was nuisance, and they just gathered enough nuisance value to express that level of ignorance. And by the way, do you know what they did? The oil minister, petroleum minister, oil is a Niger that is an Ijaw. So you are telling me Sack Ojulare is answerable to these ministers. They give report to these ministers. You are telling me that those ministers, they are not good enough to occupy those positions.
Even as people of the Niger Delta.
Even as people of Niger Delta. So what they have done invariably was to call the oil man incompetent, was to call the gas man incompetent, was to call every Niger Delta within the space of the NNPC as incompetent, that they don't have what it takes, to also make meaningful contribution for progress in that's what they have done. And that's why I said we demand apology from those set of persons, that those stomach infrastructure driven set of persons. There are better ways to do things. There are better ways to put in your demands, and not citing flimsy excuse, because the excuse that is cited also indicted the petroleum minister of oil, also indicted the petroleum minister of gas. They are saying that you guys are not doing your job. So moving forward, the advice for Niger Delta youth is that we must develop ourselves. We must actualize ourselves, because self-actualization boosts your confidence, and gives you you think rightly, you make decisive decision. Don't allow yourself to be pawn in the chess game of cabal who don't have your interest at heart, who only want to give you muscle up, who want to only give you gun to go and fight for their interest and not for your interest. They will tell you that it's your interest. It's not for your interest, it's for your destruction. We have tried that over the years. It has not worked. So develop yourself. That is how your voice can be heard. Because if you are talking from an informed point of view, then no, I mean, statistics are available which you are talking from an informed point of view. That will take you seriously. They are now taking the Niger Delta and they're taking us as unserious people. That is not the case.
You have mentioned stomach infrastructure. You have mentioned hunger as the driving force behind some of these protests, this unnecessary protests. If you recall, during the height of the militancy in the Niger Delta, there was something the administration of the late former president, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua did by granting amnesty to these militants, and that, to a very large extent, brought about stability and peace to the Niger Delta region. Now, I'm not saying that we might see yet another case of militancy, but you cannot deny the agitations. You cannot deny the grievances. Even you yourself here, as a part and parcel of the Niger Delta, I believe there are also some certain grievances that you might have as to the control of resources within the Niger Delta. What can this government do in order to address these issues holistically? On one hand, while we acknowledge the hunger, we cannot also read or absolve the government of any wrongdoing in this situation.
Of course. The government are not being sincere, and the focus on the federal government is too much for me. Because we have governors that are eating free monies, that are not accounting for the monies given to them. I can tell you,
in the Niger
Delta, I can tell you for free under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu Renew Hope agenda. The governors are rich, they have monies. Go and look at the statistics, how much is coming to each state, Bayelsa State, billions of naira coming into the state. But is it commensurate to the level of development? The 30% derivation that is getting to our governors, they are not being accounted for. So we demand accountability from our state governors.
But comrade, can you prove these allegations that you're laying on Niger Delta governors? Because you haven't mentioned a single governor, and I would rather not you mention any governor, but you have laid quite heavy and hefty allegations on governors within the Niger Delta. Can you prove this?
Of course I can tell you.
Please, the floor is yours.
Look, brother, when subsidy was removed, within 6 months, some states in the Niger Delta has gotten as much as, within 6 months, as much as 250 billion coming to the coffers, to the state's treasury. Commensurate progress, because some of these agitations of environmental degradation and all of that, there is a certain percentage that is allocated
for cleanup.
13% derivation is getting to those states. We demand accountability of that 13% derivation. I'm calling on the Niger Delta governors, oil preventing Niger Delta governors that have been benefiting 13% derivation under this leadership for billions of naira coming. What have you done? What is your template? How have you spent those money?
But has there been any governor in the Niger Delta that has at least said what they've been using the derivation funds for?
None.
Has there been any governor who has shown that these funds are used for the maintenance of the environment, the cleanup of the environment, and to ensure that the people do not continue to suffer?
My brother, none. That I'm saying, that I'm telling you that they are eating free monies. All our agitation in Niger Delta people is focused on the federal government. I'm saying that enough. Let us also come back home. Let us focus on our governors that are the chief security officers of our states, that are the #1 citizens of our states. We are demanding. Let us demand. Every other protest should be channeled in that direction. Ask the governor, this monthly money that has come, how have you spent it? What is the commensurate development? What have you allocated to community development? You go to our communities, go to our villages. There are no pipe and water, there are no waters, and the politicians will keep giving us policy, tell us I'll do road, I'll do school, I'll do all of that, but none of those things are effective in certain community. I can tell you for free, I can show you proof of communities.
So now it's about holding the governors accountable. And not just focusing on the
that is one of the solutions.
Okay,
that's one of the solutions.
Let's get back to the NNPC Limited, comrade. We have about 10 minutes or so to wrap up the conversation. Now, the NNPCL itself was expected to function as a profit-driven, transparent company when it was turned into a limited liability company. Now, after its transition, do you think that NNPCL has lived up to that lived up to the expectations of Nigerians as to what it is supposed to be, a profit-driven organization?
I don't think so.
Why?
I don't think so. Before now, when it converted to a limited liability, our refineries were moribund, and millions of naira dollar was pumped in to revamp those refineries. Eventually, the refinery came to mainstream. I went on national TV to commend the NNPC as at then that the refinery, the Warri refinery is now functional, the Port Harcourt refinery is now functional. But we are having commended them. We were observing and watching until Ojulari came in, and Ojulari exposed the level of corruption, the monumental corruption in that space, and is seeking to address those findings of his, which is open to everybody to everyone. The statistics are online. You can go and check them. So they have not necessarily lived up to expectations. Yes, there's some level of progress particularly in gas. In the LNG, in gas sector, there's a role of I'm following up the progress, but we expected much more to be done. But under Ojulari, with the pace at which he's working to provide solution, he has provided solution. With the pace he's working, we believe that he will bring that level of expertise, to bear, and productivity will be optimal. Will be optimal. We expect so. We hope so. As time progresses, we are still watching. Like I said, it's too quick to give that level of judgment as at now. But for what we see, there's that level of tremendous progress being made. And thank you.
Well. Let's earlier when I was talking about the constant fluctuating prices of premium motor spirit in the market. You said it was expected to be like that due to the removal of fuel subsidy that was done by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the first day. Inception of his administration. Now, local oil marketers in the country also recently came out to decry these fluctuating prices, saying that it is not good for business. Today it's 800, today it's 900, tomorrow it's 900 naira, that it is affecting them, and fuel pumps are becoming more and more empty in filling stations across the country. Is this good for business?
In business, like I said, that is the reason why we are asking for competition. Other licenses should be given. Modular refineries licenses should be given. For competition. Because in business, when there's monopoly in business, the man dictates. Dangote is doing his business, and every businessman wants to make profit. And I will regulate the price at will so that it will accommodate my liability. And that is what business is all about. So you cannot dictate how a private businessman will do his business. However, there's a level of regulatory interest must set in. But you cannot now peg that price. That is business is about is an algorithm. It goes up, it comes down. Even in the forex market, if you are a forex trader, you know that there's high, there's low, there's higher high, there's lower low, and that is what business is all about. That is moving, is progressive. So we demand for oil licenses for modular refineries, which was recommended by the former vice president of this country. Let those modular refineries be effective, because if modular refinery is effective, there's some level of competition, and when there's a level of competition, price will automatically crash.
Let's talk about the Port Harcourt refinery. Now, the Port Harcourt refinery shut down in May for maintenance. The Warri refinery shut down in January of 2025 due to safety. Now, hold on. Due to safety issues in its crude distillation unit. We haven't heard anything about the Port Harcourt refinery so far. We haven't heard anything about the Warri refinery so far. The Kaduna refinery and petrochemical, whatever it is, company now, KRPC, is by far the least performing of all of these three refineries. Yet again, I ask, is NNPCL living up to the expectations of Nigerians with these refineries that come on today and go off tomorrow?
He came on board, and he has accommodated both the liability and the assets. Are you with me, sir?
Yeah.
He is now responsible for the liability and the assets.
Yes.
And he has done critical analysis as a professional that has been in the business for over 30 years. He has done critical analysis, and he has said what was done was not properly done. What was done was chaotic. What was done was lavish spending. It was not professional. That is why he now is bringing this.
How long has he been at the helm of affairs of NNPCL?
It's about 5 months.
5 months.
5 months.
About 6 months.
About 6
Let's
months.
say 6 months. In 6 months, what has he done?
That in 6 months. That is why he's bringing. The oil and gas.
In relation to the refineries.
Yes, in the refineries.
Okay.
Of course, he was not part of the process that revamped it. So he has come to see lacuna 300 to 500 million loss every month for one particular refinery. Oh, he did not mention the Warri. Oh no. Just one particular refinery.
The Port Harcourt refinery.
The Port Harcourt refinery. Just one. 300 million. So the losses are much more. So the man is saying this is the reform. This is the solution to this problem. Yes. He has provided a solution. Let us work together to see if that one is really a solution. That is the essence. That is the need for the Niger Delta stakeholders to meet, to look at this thing critically. Let us look at what this man is saying. The Senate President.
Now when you talk of the stakeholders, can you give us an overview of who you are expecting to meet?
Number one, yes. The Senate President should rise to the occasion. He is the number one Niger Delta citizen, as it was Senate President. He should rise to the occasion and seek clarity on this issue. To look critically, he can call. There are other stakeholders. The chairman, House Committee, Oil and Gas, is also in Niger Delta, and other stakeholders should come together and look at this. What this man is saying, is this viable? Is this critical analysis must be there? SWOT analysis has to be done to now say what is this man is saying. Is this viable? Free from every other selfish interests. Or every other cabalish kind of interest must be put set aside, because the collective sustainable development of the Nigerian state is paramount, and that is where sincerity sets in. The man told you, I'm not a politician, I am a technocrat, and what I have done, this is the solution. Let us rally around and look at the solution is profile and see if that solution is actual solution, and let us give it a try with enough local content participation. That's our concern. That is how development can be achieved. Brazil, the petrogas are talking about, Brazil, we are all the same, but they have left us far behind because of lack of some of the issues, issue of sincerity and participation.
Now, this issue of insincerity that you're talking about, and the call for stakeholders to come into the picture and have a sit down and proffer solution to the problem of the Niger Delta, a region that has a lot of wealth, yet also has a lot of problems and troubles, right? When it comes to the part of the federal government and these stakeholders, how can that trust be rebuilt? How can that, faith and trust in the, oil economy of Nigeria and also the federal government and the NNPCL be rebuilt to ensure that while the Niger Delta has wealth, it also does not suffer from some of this distrust and issues it has been suffering from for decades?
The basic issue is leave politics aside. Despite political affiliation, the politics is too much.
Politics on whose side?
On both sides.
The federal government, the federal government, or the stakeholders.
The federal government, the stakeholders.
Okay.
Their political persuasion defines them, which is very wrong, which can never make any society develop. If it is not my party faithful that is involved, it should not work. If it is not me so that is the problem. We should stop playing politics with critical infrastructure, with critical as the oil and gas. We should stop playing politics with it. The federal government must be sincere. The other stakeholder, Niger Delta stakeholder, and every other stakeholder in Nigeria must be sincere to come to the table of negotiation and look at things critically from a development point of view, so that we can set the ball rolling. That is what it is. It is what it is. We should stop playing politics. If you go to NDDC, if you are not APC member, you don't get anything. If you go to this place, if you are not APC member, that is rubbish. That cannot bring development. Because I don't want to empower my opposition. So now
it's about political parties.
It's a political solution.
Now this is an allegation that you said if you go to a certain organization, if you go to NNPCL or whatever it is, trying to find a government contract or whatnot, if you're not of a certain political party now,
is a problem.
It is a problem. So how can you prove that these favors are being given based on political party affiliation and not based on merit?
My brother,
because I know a lot of people who are listening to us right now will be wondering, where did you get these facts from?
We just
want you to clear the air on that.
I've just mentioned.
Don't leave the viewer.
I've just mentioned NDDC. It is for political settlement. The facts are there. Fact and figures are there.
Political settlement for who?
For APC members, for political parties.
In the NDDC.
In the NDDC and every other.
How is that true? How is that possible that the NDDC, an organization set up by the federal government, will be used for political reasons to settle APC
I can
members?
tell you, 90% of the contract issued is based on political affiliations.
I wish you had facts and figures to show us here so that we can see.
I'm giving you the responsibility.
Oh, okay, please.
I'm giving you the responsibility. The fact is there. That is the problem of Nigeria today is politics. You see the PDP, the APC, that just are loggerhead playing politics. If I don't want to empower my enemy, look at what's happening in River State. What is the essence? What was the need of removing a sitting governor? Will you support me? I will not support you. Will you support me? It's all about politics.
And you think that is also happening and affecting our oil?
That is part of the cabal I'm talking about. That is the cabal arrangement that is affecting the productivity of the oil and gas sector. We should be free from when it's time for politics, play politics, and Nigerian politics is no longer a politics of ideology. It's not politics of what I will get. Look at a politician will be in party A. Will have in 2 days to election. He will move to party B. From party B, if there is no favor, he will move to party C. He will now come back to party A. Rigmarole. So there's need for political reform, for political party reform. Politics has to do with ideology. If I ask any average Nigerian, what is the ideology of APC? There's nothing. What is the ideology of PDP? There's nothing.
Of course, the APC knows its ideology, and I believe the PDP knows its ideology as well.
I am a comrade.
Yeah.
I am apolitical. I don't belong to any political party. My drive is that there must be commitment, there must be engagement, and there must be sustainable development beyond political affiliation. That's my position.
Comrade Bedford, we have about a minute or so to wrap up the conversation. What is your message to all stakeholders involved in this? The youth of the Niger Delta, NNPCL under the leadership of Ojulari, the federal government, and of course, you have somehow managed to drag politicians into this, the politicians themselves.
All right, be sincere. Patriotism is beyond politics. Be patriotic Nigerian is the paramount responsibility of all. Stop playing politics that will affect the collective development of the Nigerian states. When it's time for politics, play politics. Now it's time to show patriotism. Sheath your sword, sheath your sentimental sword, and let us come to the engagement table of negotiation to chart a way forward for a productive Nigeria. Because I believe in Nigeria. I believe in this country. I believe that Nigeria can be world power tomorrow. I believe that the best of Nigeria is yet to be seen. So all political affiliation should be set aside and come to a point of patriotism. That is my message.
All right, Comrade Bedford Benjamin, that has been a very wonderful one here with you having this conversation concerning NNPCL and, of course, the people of the Niger Delta.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We wish you the very best of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that has been Comrade Bedford Benjamin, Director of Publicity, Niger Delta Peoples Movement, speaking to us about the NNPC Limited Saga, a recent protest organized by certain youths of the Niger Delta barricading the NNPCL towers here in Abuja.